All right. And we are live coming to you with the art of writing for shorts content. Now, let me just make sure that I'm set up on all these platforms. I'm trying out something brand new today by streaming directly to the short shelf with this new segment, the art of writing. All right. So it looks like I'm live on Instagram shorts. And let me pull up making sure Facebook Shorts as well. Curious to see if it's actually streaming to the short shelf. And then let me check for Facebook. And Facebook, I can tell it's vertical as well. Be curious to see if it's actually streaming to the short shelf or not. So, welcome. Welcome to the art of writing. This is a brand new segment to focus on the specific art of writing. So today we're going to be talking about a couple things. I'm going to be chatting about pop culture, some of our favorite pop culture villains that we love to hate. So some favorite pop culture villains. I'm going to chat about some specific inspiration and motivational things just to give you a little pep if there's something you're struggling with. And then I'll also hop into some specific writing strategies that you use right now. So we're getting started. This is a creative writing broadcast designed to help you, give you inspiration, and help you become a better writer, or at least maybe avoid a little bit of procrastination. All right, so let's get right into it. So first off, where I want to start off with some culture. I have four fandoms that I really want to touch upon. So I have four favorites: Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings. Oh, franchises. So today I'm gonna be making it super easy. I wanna chat about some of these villains that we love to hate, memorable from each of these 4 franchises. So I wanna start off with Star Wars, and one of the most well-known villains of all time, Darth Vader. Why is Darth Vader such a memorable, evil, or maybe inspirational character? If we look at Darth Vader from just the original trilogy, he's an evil antagonist, but since the Star Wars universe has been fleshed out and expanded over the course of the past 20 years, we're given a much more backstory as we learn more about Anakin Skywalker and his fall from grace when he was originally a Jedi Knight, and how his desire to save Padme led him to the dark side. But in the more recent lore, how he's redeemed himself in the Force Ghost and his things that he's done after his death at the hands of Luke Skywalker. So, why is Darth Vader such a memorable character? Is it because his very unique visual appearance, that mask works, it instills fear, or maybe it's because of his power and his ability to force choke people. Now, while force choking isn't just purely a Darth Vader thing, in the original trilogy, Darth Vader, that moment where he force chokes different characters, whether he's force choking the characters in his own team who are giving him back talk, or even when he's fighting off against Luke or the Emperor. He has that force choke and the lightning. So is it the abilities? Maybe that's part of it, but it's more so his philosophy. Because he has a tragic backstory, because his character was once very, very good and then fell at the hands of really his own naivete to the dark side, his tragic backstory instilled his character development. Even from the original trilogy, you can tell that there's this underlying arc to his entire character, and there's a reason that at the very end of the trilogy that he returns in his final moments to the light side of the Force, because at the core, he was a good person before he did unspeakable things over the years, over all the trilogies. Darth Vader's philosophy is blind vengeance at the sense of his deep loss. Do you agree? I would love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below or post a like if this is something that resounds with you. Darth Vader is such a fun, evil character to hate. There have been so many spin-offs and franchises, and he is just such a character with his memorable mask, lightsaber, and appearance. So that's one of the reasons I love Darth Vader. Now, what's another pop culture fandom? Let's hop over to Marvel. So last time we talked about pop culture, we went into Thanos and his and the Infinity Gauntlet. But now with Thanos, what new villains do we have? I would say what new villain has been set up in the new phases of Marvel. And that villain is King the Conqueror. So his villain's been set up. They've done some setup with him in the story so far, but essentially because they're exploring the multiverse, his character, there's so many different iterations of Kang, and there's a huge lore throughout the storybook, throughout the graphic novels, the comics, and there's so things that happen, all his different iterations throughout multiverse that leads the heroes to maybe defeat him or maybe not defeat him. But in the cinematic universe so far, he's been set up as a kind of a neutral ally, the one iteration of him when he's introduced in Loki. He's set up as a clear antagonist in the Ant-Man movie. And then in the sneak peeks that we've seen, he's set up as many different versions of him that each have their own different character arc, but they must have similar philosophies. Now, have you figured out what his core philosophy is yet? King's philosophy is he wants to rule the multiverse because the core of him wants power. Now, because so many different iterations of him, it's not going to be, it won't be true for every single iteration of King the Conqueror, but that is his core philosophy. Now, I don't know as much about his background and his backstory yet, but that quest for power at core, is King an evil person? Debatable. Is him trying to destroy the multiverse an evil thing? It probably is. That's probably not a good thing for King to destroy and conquer the entire multiverse. Will the Marvel superheroes be able to stop him? Let's hope. How many are going to get dusted and killed off in the process? Hey, what's up, Cyan? Thanks for stopping back by the stream, my friend. So King's an interesting one. He's an interesting one for sure. I wish I knew a little bit more about him, but I would love to hear your thoughts, especially for those who are comic book fans and nerds out there. Oh, I love King. Now, hopping away from Marvel, I saw the ad for Lord of the Rings. Oof. Who doesn't love the One Ring to rule them all from the Fellowship trilogy? And more recently, from the Rings of Power, the original lore, the original history of the Lord of the Rings. Of course, the TV series does a lot of things, mixed reviews on how people responded to it, but overall, it's interesting. It's interesting. So, when we talk about Lord of the Rings antagonists, we think of who is the main evil? character? Sauron. Sauron is Sauron, the evil Lord Sauron. So the one character who needs to destroy the last ring because the ring is what he craves. It is the thing that Frodo goes on the entire journey to destroy. Yet, when Frodo wears the ring, which he receives from Bilbo early on, that is what gives them that is what gives him the power to go invisible, of course. It's what gives him the power of the darkness, of Sauron's darkness, and the power of Mordor, but also gives Sauron the ability to detect him, right? That trade-off. And if you're ever creating a thing, if you're ever creating an ability, this is, by the way, this is a pro tip. If you're ever giving an ability to your hero, the downside of it, if the weakness is somehow related and services the antagonist directly, making it easier for the antagonist to find your hero or to make it harder for your hero, that's gonna be a win. A lot of times our hero's weaknesses, a lot of times they can be external, sometimes they can be internal based on the obstacles that they face, but directly relating it to whatever the evil antagonist is doing, like the One Ring throughout the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that is success because it makes it easier to connect the antagonist and your antagonist as they get further into the story. So, what is the philosophy of Sauron? Now, as a character, Sauron is realistically always embodied as that ring, not the ring. Evil, the eye of Sauron. He is embodied as a single eye. So how come his character is so memorable? How come Sauron's character is so memorable if he is a single eye that floats above the Mount Doom? How is his character so memorable? Because he has a philosophy that terrifies the heroes. He has a philosophy. His philosophy is that he wants to rule all of Middle Earth through darkness. The heroes don't want that to happen. Sauron's a fun one. When we think about why Sauron was successful, it's because his power is shown through each of the evil characters that are part of his army, right? So a lot of the times we think, "Oh, I need to show my evil character, my evil antagonist doing something," but Sauron's power is showed through the ring wraiths. His power is shown through the ring. His power is shown through the corruption of the world itself. His power is shown through Saruman. So even though he is for the most part and a bodiless character, he is a memorable antagonist that directly opposes our heroes. But now let's switch over. Switching over from Lord of the Rings, where do we go to next? One of my other favorite franchises. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by my segment, The Art of Writing, and we're just doing a pop culture deep dive. What's another segment that I love, or what's another pop culture I love? Harry Potter. Ah, Harry Potter. It'll be interesting to see if they how the television reboot comes to be in the years to come. But when we think about Harry Potter, how come I'm like thinking of Lord of the Rings now. How come the antagonist from Harry Potter, Voldemort, is such a memorable villain? How come Voldemort is so memorable against Harry Potter? Voldemort's core philosophy is the absence of love and hate because he was shown zero love throughout his upbringing. He at moments, very particular moments, he showed kindness, but his core philosophy of fear and destruction and chaos is the direct opposition of Harry's core philosophy: love, friendship, kindness, protection. And that core philosophy is kind of symbolized through the 2 houses, right? Gryffindors are kind of noble, Slytherins are can be mean and deceitful. That's, like, on a surface level, which is why the 4-house concept still serves, like, the overall story really, really well. But on a deeper, deeper core philosophy, Voldemort splits up his soul into 7 beings. If we think of our soul as part of our as an extension of the way that we perceive and can love the world, and it's, of course, Harry himself was is one of the Horcruxes, which is interesting because you could then argue that of the 7 of the, Horcruxes that Voldemort splits his soul up into, that one of the Horcruxes is probably his capability to love. You could argue that he took out the piece of his soul that was capable of love. When he was young, in one of the backstories, I believe he was shown of loving a snake. I believe there was a love there, and of course, all people are capable. If you're creating an evil villain, they should be capable of love as well. Even if their actions are not clearly quite the opposite, you want to think about what is that core philosophy. Hence, by the time Voldemort and Harry Potter face off, you have a really a philosophical debate between love and kindness and hate, chaos, and destruction. And then there is that battle of philosophies. All right, all right. So pop culture jam, I love it. Let's hop into some inspiration. Let's go with some easy inspiration. So based off what you've responded to over the past couple, I would say the past couple months, one of the things that really resounded with you was mastering patience and perseverance. How do you master patience when we live in a world of social media, of struggle, and so many conflicting priorities? What is your goal as a writer? Keep that in mind. Is your goal to be a published author? Is your goal to just write your first story? Is your goal to just have fun? Is your goal to create the best dang character you've ever seen in your life? Maybe your goal is to build up a portfolio, or perhaps your goal is to publish your work, become a famous author, and then take that route. And by establishing your goal, that's going to help you to master patience because you'll be focused on where you're going in the long term. Your goal is directly related to your ability to be patient because you're going to be able to get there. And if you create consistency in your schedule, be like, hey, you know what? My goal to become a published author is probably going to take me a year to write a story. And you have to be realistic with your time, of course. But if you create a realistic schedule, you're like, all right, I'm going to write 1 to 2 times a week. And that's enough for me to create the story that I want to tell. And by setting up a clear expectation within yourself with a clear goal, you'll found you'll have found that you have mastered patience and perseverance. Hey, what's up? Silent, thanks again for stopping by the stream, my friend. I was like trying something new. This is my art of writing segment. And by the way, Alpha Q, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the question, by the way. I appreciate it. Let's see, what's my favorite piece of writing? Oh, that's a good one. My all-time, I'll give you my classic novel, and then I'll give you my contemporary novel. My classic novel, Don Quixote. Who doesn't love a story about an old man, really, really old man, completely senile, who goes around the countryside thinking that he's a knight saving people, when what he actually is doing is making it worse for everybody? It's one of my favorite classic novels. Oh, I love Don Quixote. Kinda hard to read because the writing, is his writing style is a little challenging, but definitely one of my favorites. One of my more contemporary favorite reading pieces would probably be Wheel of Time. Absolutely. I've always been an epic fantasy. So Wheel of Time, the book series, I love because he and then later on, because Robert Jordan and then later on Brandon Sanderson, created such a compelling world with hundreds of believable characters. If you ever wanna take a deep dive into a world that does character development on a very grand scale very, very well, I would definitely recommend the Wheel of Time, the book series. The television series, taking it in a much different direction. That's all right. It's a different medium and it's a different format, a different telling of the wheel. Thanks for asking that question, Alpha. I'm curious, what's your favorite piece of writing? Do you have like a favorite story or anything you like to read? Let's see. Sad parts about writing sometimes is that language becomes archaic and is understood through modern lenses. You're absolutely right. And I think that's always the challenge of the storytelling that we're writing. How do we make something that's timeless? How do we make something that's going to be engaging and that's going to be received next year, 5 years from now, 20, 50, 100? I think, Alpha, I would say actually the best one of the best examples of a writer that I've ever seen who's created their own language completely, and it is still recognized as a top literary classic, Shakespeare. Shakespeare is a perfect example of all of his plays and storytelling is his very own language. And there are courses and educations and things all about the study of Shakespeare today. If you try to read a Shakespeare play and you're not as familiar with it, you might be able to understand it, but the language is so unique to his storytelling. That's pretty incredible. Thank you for sharing. Well, I haven't read the Quran. I think with religious texts, I think religious texts all have their own stories. They're a bundle of different types of stories, and I think well, I haven't had the chance to dig into them yet. I think there's a lot of power in terms of being able to read religious texts from a storytelling standpoint and understanding like why are they timeless and why have they resounded with so many people throughout the modern world and throughout centuries that have led to such diverse belief systems. And those belief systems are a result of storytelling. So I actually think that's a really good call out, by the way. Let's see, which is your also, do you know if he wrote the poem London? You know what? I'm not I know Shakespeare did do a series of poems. I'm not as familiar with his poetic work. In all honesty, I'm not as familiar. I'm probably familiar with about 60, 70% of his plays, but not his poems. I'll definitely, I'll have to write that down, though. I'm always curious to read new poetry. I'm gonna write that down. Thank you for that. That's awesome. You seem like you'd be able to appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Alright, so what do we got next? Let me see. So how do you make writing easy? Of all the things that I've hopped into lately, one of the writing, the process can be difficult. The only way to make it easy is to create consistency and to make the process fun. Make the process fun for yourself. You want to make writing easy? Make it fun. Now, of course, the brainstorming and ideation phase is usually everyone's favorite part. The character development is fun, the world building is fun, the creation part of it is fun. But how do you make the technical part of it when you're getting halfway through a story, when you're getting to the end of a story, when you get into the editing part of a story? How do you make that fun? You lead and you balance it with the creative part. You want to leverage every single part of the writing process with having fun. How do you do that? If you are editing your story, for me, what I like to do to have fun, I write all of my characters, I write my plots, I write the things that I'm working on these giant whiteboards, on sticky notes. And even though I'm editing like a chapter of the story, I ask myself for this specific chapter or section, what is what is the character's goal? And what do I need to fix? Because there's something that you love about the character. Now, I know that editing itself can be a little time consuming, but by balancing out that technical side, with the fun part of it, you're going to make the process so much easier for yourself. Make it fun, and I promise you, you will enjoy the experience much more. Because my goal for you is to tell your story and get it out to the world, if that is your goal. I want you to enjoy the process because there are so many writers out there who are great storytellers, but are only limited by their own worst enemy, you, yourself, and I. I get it. I've been there one too many times, my friends. It took me years to understand this mentality and this mindset. While I've always enjoyed and I've loved the writing process, it took me a while to be confident enough to be able to come out and share this information with everyone. Alpha, actually, it's a great question. So I actually live stream my writing process every single day. If you wanna see, like, my story that I'm currently working on, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, and my normal live stream, which is actually the long-term format, I'm live streaming my current story, which is called The Last Scarecrow. Let me see. I was, like, thinking out a dropped it. But essentially, The Last Scarecrow, which I wanna say I just hit the 70,000 word mark, and Last Scarecrow, I've been working since January. I stream it every single day through my streaming show, Kaufman Writes, and I only work on it during the live streams. So just by working on it 30 minutes a day, I've gotten to 70,000 words, and the synopsis is what is it? Here we go. A post apocalyptic fairy tale about a scarecrow come to life who journeys across a land ridden with animals, creatures, and beasts that are fading away into the nothingness at the hands of the first demon. Come experience the process with me. If you want to read more of like my specific works that I have out, you can actually check out my website. I'll post it here. There you go. So I just threw up my website in the chat. If you want to like go read some of my stuff, you can go check out my stuff on the Creative Ghost as well. Thecreativeghost.com. That's my creative writing company where I have services. I have writing coaching services to help out new writers who just need that like accountability or maybe check-ins. And then I also offer editing services to help writers get their story ready to be published. So, but I have my portfolio on there as well. And my portfolio shows my different types of storytelling I've done, shows my work. You can also go check me out. I post my writing. I do articles on Medium. I do LinkedIn. I'm on all the socials. So I'm out there. But thanks for asking, Alpha. I really appreciate that. All right, let's see what else. So what other writing inspiration do we need? How to find time to write. So this was one that the viewers that you have shown that like you wanted to hear me talk a little bit more about. So how do you find time to write when you're so busy? What if you're a student and you have so much work to do all the time? What if you have family and they're taking up all your time? What if you're trying to have a dating life, have a social life, gaming, writing, like all the things? How do you find time to write? You want to think about how much time that you want to spend per week writing. You might have a really busy life, and that's all right. That is quite all right. But in a perfect world, how much time do you want to give to work on your story each week? And first off, start really low. Don't set high expectations. Be like, I'm going to write every single day. I'm a weirdo. I write every single day because I'm in a place in my life where I'm able to. When I was a student, I was not able to write every single day, and if I had set that as a goal for myself at the time, I would have failed, and then I would have felt horrible about it, and then I would have just hated myself and thought that I wasn't a writer. Think about how many hours a week you wanna write, and then split that up into, like, 2 to 3 times a day, or not 2 to 3 times a day, 2 to 3 times a week, and then make that process easier for yourself. You also wanna balance it out with all your other priorities. So, if you think about how many hours do I spend to work? How many hours am I going to spend to hang out with friends? How many hours do I spend to relaxing? Give yourself time to relax. It is alright to just do nothing. If you wanna just sit down and stare at a wall for hours, like, more power to you. It's alright. You also give that same amount of time to your writing. How many hours do you wanna give to it? And also be realistic with yourself. Let's say your life's been crazy, or maybe you're dealing with trauma. Maybe you've dealt with some severe mental health problems lately. Maybe something really serious happened to you. Or maybe you're just like, you're not in a good place to write right now. And that's all right. Give yourself a break. Be like, you know what? I'm going to take a break from writing for 2 weeks. But in 2 weeks, set a date. I would set a date on my timer or on my phone, and then I'm going to come back to it. Take intentional breaks. And by being realistic with your schedule, then that's going to help you really find that right balance. So that way you can write when life is crazy. Hey, welcome to the stream, Foray. I was like, Foray, Foray. You have a really cool name, by the way. You have a really cool name. I just wanna make sure that that I pronounce it correctly. Farai Sultan. I'm a uni student, and I'm doing the Ray Bradbury challenge of writing a short story each week. It is challenging, but also fun. That is super cool. You know what, Ray Bradbury was a really cool author. I know one of my writing friends was actually really really close to Ray Bradbury. I know his family was. Um, that's actually a really cool challenge. I'm not too familiar with the specifics of it, but by focusing on writing a short story every week, like, that's a great challenge. Then you're probably always coming up with new ideas and new things. I absolutely love that. I'd be curious to hear, Foray, did you get, how many, like, stories have you created out of it? Or have you come up with, like, some stories that you want to turn into something bigger? So, as I was talking about earlier, my story that I'm working on right now, Last Scarecrow, right now it's about 70,000 words, probably 250 pages. It actually started off as a two-page free write. It started off with a picture. I was like, "I think that's a scarecrow," 2 pages, and then it became 4 pages, and then 10, and then eventually I was like, "I'm gonna have a story here." But I think that's like you never know what's gonna happen. That's actually really cool. I'm gonna check out the Ray Bradbury challenge, 'cause that's a really cool concept. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see, and then what other topics? Inspiration. What is one of the hardest things that we deal with as writers? Confidence, lack of fear. No, lack of confidence with fear. How do you overcome fear of putting your work out there as a writer? How do you push yourself when you don't know how people are going to respond to it? You don't know, like, you might put your story out and the world could hate it. They could laugh at you. They could be like, this is the worst piece of garbage I've ever read. That's all right. It is quite all right if people don't respond to it in a way that you're expecting. You have to remember that at the end of the day, writing starts for you, and it's an internal process. If you're writing for an audience, if you're writing for readership, if you're writing to get validation, be clear why you're writing. Be clear who it's meant for. If you're writing a fantasy story and it's read by a bunch of people who are into, like, horror, of course they might not like it. It's not their vibe. It's not their, like, style of writing. I always recommend before you put your story out there, and if you're at the point where, like, "You know what? I feel like my story is terrible." If you feel like your story is terrible, you're not gonna know for a fact until you somebody else read it. And that's alright. It is quite alright to feel that way. It's actually really common. I feel that way before I even put my stuff out, and I've had to overcome that fear over years and years of practice, right? And I've gotten myself to a mindset where I'm like, I can do it consistently because I understand myself. So overcome that fear by allowing yourself to start off with just like one person, and don't have it be a friend or family member. They're going Your friend or family, if they read your stuff, might not give you the real advice that you really need to hear. Find another writer or find a writer group and have them look at your story, and then ask them like, hey, this is the type of feedback that I'm looking for, of like, I think the character sucks but I don't know why. Can you tell me that's right or wrong? I'll give you feedback. Join a writing community. I actually do free story readings and excerpts every single Saturday right here on this live stream. So if you need it, feel free to drop by. You can check out my website. You can reach out to me and you can send a submission if you want a piece of your story read and you need feedback. It's really fun experience. I think so far I have about 6 to 7 submissions for this Saturday's stream. So it's usually one of our popular ones. All right. And then let's see what do we got next. So let's see what else. And then for writing tips, how do you start writing? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hop into a couple of specific examples of how to make the writing process easier for you, doing specific strategies. I have 4 strategies for you. Okay, so how do you start writing? Strategy 1, sit down, think of your 3 favorite TV shows, movies, or books. Write them down. You can even use your phone or a piece of paper or your computer. Write down those 3. Once you have those 3, think about what is the one character, scene, or idea in each of those things that you love. So you're going to have 3 separate either characters, ideas, or scenes. Now, of those 3, pick one of them which you enjoy the most. For me, I would pick, let's see, I would pick the Game of Thrones. I would pick probably the moment Ned is killed off. I think that's crazy. I would pick Yoda from Star Wars, and then I would pick the magic of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Pick those 3. Now, of those 3 ideas, which one sounds the most fun? I would say Avatar: The Last Airbender right now. Okay, now I'm gonna write a story about being an earthbender. So I wanna be an earthbender. It'll just be a short story, it'll be fun. We'll just have fun. The thing is, like, nobody the only, critic is you. Have fun with it, write in the universe, and then maybe that'll give you some ideas for writing, like, a brand new power, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm actually gonna create a new power from this earth bending." Only write, like, a page and make it easier for yourself, and then you can make it, and then you'll suddenly have a story, and you've just started writing. Congratulations. Alright, so strategy number 2, extreme plot obstacles. So when you're working on your story, I'm gonna repeat myself. When you're working on your story and you're developing the different plot points, the different obstacles that your heroes are going to encounter, how do you determine what is the most extreme obstacle that they should face? Here's a strategy. What is your character's greatest weakness? Step 1, identify your protagonist's greatest weakness. Step 2, let's say this character's weakness is a fear of spiders. Step 2, if they have a fear of spiders, what is the most extreme thing that could happen? Like, worst case, like, make it the worst case. Maybe they get poisoned by a spider and it's gonna kill them, maybe they turn into a spider. Like, that would suck. Maybe they get thrown into a pit of 100 spiders. Brainstorm a couple ideas, do a bullet point list of what are, like, 5 to 10 things that could happen, like, 5 to 10 different types of, like, obstacles. Once you have that list of 5 to 10, pick one that sounds the most fun, and then do it. Write that scene right now. Don't worry about the rest of the story, don't worry about the rest of the plot, but write that extreme moment with your character and that weakness and that extreme obstacle and just see how it comes out. And that might actually give you some inspiration for other parts of your story. And that's how you want to write an extreme character obstacle. All right. And strategy number 3, the anti-hero. Oof, I love anti-heroes. I love it so much. Walter White from Breaking Bad. What are other anti-heroes? I would say Joe from You. You is an interesting show. How do you write a show about a serial killer and still make the bring the audience along? Dexter from Dexter, obviously. How do you write a character that is evil that the audience cares about? What is their moral? What is the one moral high ground that is the redeeming quality about them? They could be the most evil individual in the existence of humankind, but they have to have that redeeming quality. Walter White's redeeming quality is fighting cancer. That is what starts. So he's doing it for his family. Dexter's redeeming quality, he is has a sense of morals. He only kills bad guys. Redeeming quality. Joe from You, redeeming quality, he's doing it for love. By creating a single redeeming quality, it has to be a moral quality, a moral high ground. That is what's going to connect your reader or your viewer, if it's a script, with your anti-hero. And I promise you, anti-heroes are so much fun to write. But by having that quality, and that's going to have to come up throughout the story, your anti-hero is going to be so much fun for your readers and your audience to tag along. All right, and that's our anti-hero, and then last but not least, our underdog characters. So who doesn't love the classic underdog? Underdogs are fun. We relate with the underdog because the underdog character defies all odds. They are the world is out to get them. They Every obstacle brings them down. Every situation makes it worse. Usually the friends or the characters that they meet don't help. The antagonists are so difficult. We relate with the underdog character because we believe in the power of ourselves as an underdog character, that we are capable of overcoming the obstacles that we deal with in life. We believe that we're capable of overcoming the assignments in school, the bills of our day-to-day life, the health problems that we deal with in life, the family problems, societal, political, religious, all of those things that prevent us from living our best life. It's all against us. And because we want to hope that we can overcome those things by seeing it externalized in an underdog character where everything is literally out to get them, that makes it, that idea, that philosophy really resonate. So the next time that you're creating an underdog character, put yourself in their shoes or put them in your shoes. What are all the things that you feel like you're up against? Then when you're writing that underdog character, create similar things in whatever world you're creating to pit them against. and suddenly you have an underdog character. Ah, thank you so much, my friends. By the way, if you're getting value out of this, tap that like button. Let me know that you're really enjoying it. And if you want to see more writing content, I will be doing Art of Writing as a series a little more periodically. You'll see more shorts videos pop up from the short shelf for more writing inspiration. And to be alerted, tap that follow button, tap that subscribe button, and you'll know when I go live. I'll go live on the shorts content, and I also go live on the normal Kaufman Writes channel on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. So more to come. I appreciate you stopping by the stream today. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow, my friends. And don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. Keep on writing, my friend.